Hello and welcome to Career Corner, the podcast where we share all the tools and resources you need to succeed in your college and career journey. I'm your host, Maddie, and today we're sitting down with a very special guest for our new Industry Professional series, where every episode we get to chat with professionals from across a variety of industries to give you a behind-the-scenes look into their stories. Today, we're turning up the volume and diving into the music industry, one of the most exciting, fast-paced, and ever-changing environments out there, and no one to better guide us through the ins and outs of this complex industry than today's guest, MJ. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
MJ is the Regional Director of Urban Audience at Republic Collective, the parent company for Def Jam Recordings, Island, Mercury, and Republic Records. Republic Collective is home to some of the biggest names in music, artists like Justin Bieber, Rihanna, and Kanye West, and MJ plays a key role in helping bring that music to audiences. MJ's story is one of hard work, hustle, and heart, from starting out in iHeartMedia during his last year of undergrad at college, interning at Atlantic Records, and even spending time in the mailroom at the Recording Academy. I'm truly so excited for all of the insight we'll get from such an accomplished professional. But we have one more exciting fun fact. MJ was actually a CSUN alum on our very own campus. So who better to teach our matadors how to get going than you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. That was a great intro.
Oh, thank you.
You really did do some research. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, you kind of forget certain things. I was like, oh, yeah, she's right about that. I do that.
I'm here for the recap. Yeah, I on the computer.
Yeah, it's good. Good job. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. So we're gonna start at your beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of, how did you know it was music? Did you know it was gonna be music? Like with where you wanted to end up?
Yeah, so the initial start of my life, it has to always start with my dad. My dad was a DJ when I was a child. So just growing up, he would always DJ in the living room. And so it was music throughout the house all the time. So even at like 4 years old, I mean, that was all I knew was music. Yeah. And obviously MJ is short for Michael Jackson, and he named me after one of his favorite artists. So, you know, I think music just so happened to be like destiny, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would, started having my interest in music. And then as I came of age, I had aspirations of being a rapper. I wasn't really good at it, so I figured that I would try other things that kind of connected me to my passion. I started producing some of my friends. I thought I wanted to be an audio engineer. That was like my very first like interest into it. And then I went to college. I went to University of Arkansas in Little Rock. I studied mass communications. And while doing that, I started to intern at like local radio stations, one of them being iHeart. And as I started to do that, I kind of had interest on other aspects of the music industry. I met someone who worked at Atlantic Records when I was an intern at iHeart. And through that conversation, she kind of gave me insight of me thinking like, oh, maybe I can work at a record label. It was kind of like a pipe dream through a conversation.
Right.
But yeah, then I moved out to Los Angeles in 2016, came to CSUN and studied in the Music Industry Administration program, cohort number 5. And then, after that, like I said, interned at Atlantic, got a job in the mailroom, and got hired at Def Jam in 2018. And through all the changes, ended up at Republic Collective.
Yeah.
Now.
I can't wait to dive into this story. I feel like it's there's so many parts. So we'll start at our heart. Or I mean, even just going into the experiences you've had, like what about like skills or like the approach to each opportunity? Was there ever like a mindset, maybe like, let me do the most, or like, how can I make this? How do I get more out of it? Like, what was your mindset going into each of these opportunities as they presented?
Yeah, so my very, very first internship happened when I was a sophomore. It was Power 92 Jams, which is a Cumulus radio station. I was in the mass communications department. It was a radio personality by the name of Trey Day. He had a scholarship that he did. And because of my grades, I ended up winning the scholarship. And then through him, we had a conversation. He was like, yo, if you're looking for any internships at the school, at the radio station, just let me know. I didn't have nothing doing for the summer. So I was like, yeah, I'll come intern at the radio station. And that was like my very first, like, getting into troubled waters. Because I knew nothing about an internship. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I just came when I was supposed to come. And, through that, I kind of just had a mindset like, oh, maybe if I work in radio, that can be my entry point into the music industry. So through that experience at Power 92, I started to intern at other radio stations, and obviously ended up at iHeart being my last radio internship. But the mindset I did have going into each one of those internships was to be memorable. You know, that was like my main thing. Like, they have a lot of interns that come in. I wanted to be someone that they remember, someone that they, you know, if I needed a reference for an opportunity, they would speak very highly of me.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like the mindset. And it's kind of like going into, like, you know, being the first one there, last one to leave, doing everything that's kind of asking me, and just trying my best to go above and beyond, to hopefully land an opportunity, you know, somewhere. So that was like the thought.
And I feel like what you said about internships, that like sometimes you make what the experience is. Like, you went in, maybe you don't know exactly what the role is, or like I've had internships where it's like the roles and responsibilities was kind of blank, and it's like you kind of get to make it your own, and if like you want to get something out of it, then you can make that happen. And I feel like that's so important, and the connection you made with Atlantic Records and like where that took you, I feel like is a testament to that. So
that was actually, it's interesting because every internship connected in its own way. You know, like I said, me interning at Power 92 with just my interest into radio, and then I ended up, you know, when the iHeart internship story is actually interesting because I literally just walked in the building and asked for an internship. It wasn't like I applied and saw it. Like, I literally walked in the building. I would see the building every day as I went to like my job at the time, and I walked in and said, "Can I get an internship?" And I'm so glad I did that, because by doing that, like I said, I would, you know, make a great impression. And then someone who worked at Atlantic Records would come down once a month. Actually, the fun part, I've never met the person. We've only talked on the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, because she was leaving out, and I was like coming back from lunch, and they was like, "Yo, you know, this person came by from Atlantic Records. Here's their number." And we talked for like 2 hours.
Wow.
First time, our first conversation was 2 hours. Same thing. I was like, you know, she told me what she did, how long she been in the music industry, and she gave me advice. She was like, "Yo, if you really want to do this, you got to either move to New York or move to LA," right? And in a little backstory, I've been to LA before. I went to Grammy Camp in 2012 as a summer camp in music production. So that was like my first time coming to LA. I had went to Berkeley for a summer program. So I had did summer programs through high school, but I had loved LA and always wanted to come back. And so after that conversation with Allison from Atlantic, I was like, I'm gonna move to LA and try to get an opportunity. And so it's crazy how each one of the internships kind of connected. And then I ended up interning in the same department that Allison worked, but she had nothing to do with that. It just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah. Wow. So I feel like you would advocate for like networking then as like as
the
a
most important
big
thing.
skill. Yeah. I know I've talked with other guests that she was calling every place she wanted to work at. I know today you can LinkedIn message, or just like walking in and being like, "Hey, like I'm passionate," like showing that it's not just a job for you. It's like, this is something I want to be in. Yeah.
Correct.
Is there any other advice that you would give to someone who maybe like our student listeners who are maybe apprehensive of the networking? I know some people, we try to promote, we do career fairs, we do like mentor events where they can shake hands and meet professionals, but how would you, like, what advice would you give to them?
I always think the art of networking is not about the first time you meet a person, right? The first time you meet a person, you want to keep it as very light as possible. But also, you know, say for example, when I was first starting off and I would network, I saw like somebody I knew, like an executive, or maybe someone you don't know. Maybe you're having a conversation with someone and you say, use me for example, like, "Yo, MJ, you know I work at Def Jam, right?" And be like, "Yo, congratulations on the Justin Bieber release, man. I really liked the Swag album. I thought it was great." "Okay, cool, great. I really like." So you keep it very short and subtle, but you mention something that I was working on, right? So the next time you see me out and about, or you just so happen to stalk my Instagram or something like that, and you're like, "Oh, MJ's gonna be here." Then we go say what's up to him, and he's like, "Oh, we met at this event." Like, "Oh, great, yeah, how you doing?" And then now the conversation is building, right? And then you leave with that. Listen, if there's ever opportunity to grab, you know, coffee or lunch or have a conversation, I'll be open to it. Now you've already planted the seed and you build on top of that. Networking is like, you know, like dating someone. It's like, it ain't always just trying to immediately date the person the first time you meet them.
Right.
You plant the seed
It's
and you build
intentional.
on that, right? And I think the most important thing I always give to people is, you know, even though we work in the music industry and we have these illustrious jobs that people know about, the most important thing is that we all are human. Right? And we all are people, and we all like life. Like I'm a fan of the Lakers. I'm a fan of the Dodgers. Like, I like wrestling. Like, you just being a person. Like, don't always try to go straight to the music industry stuff. You know, talk to someone as a human, as you would talk to just anybody. You know, how you doing? Got any plans for the weekend? You know, you got anything you're gonna do for Christmas? Like, little stuff like that always help build a great impression.
Right, because we're multifaceted, and no one wants to be treated like, oh my gosh, hey, like I met you 5 years ago, so like that job opening, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like,
take your time, be patient, because
Yeah.
trust me, being patient, it works greatly if
Yeah.
you're patient. And the thing about it is, opportunities come, and it's like, yo, you made a great impression on someone, and they might think of you before you think of them. So that's happened to me, where people reached out to me about opportunities just to see if I was interested. You know, so yeah.
So then, talking about like your current position, how did you find working with like Urban Audience or doing promotion and like all of these? How did that come to be? Like, how did you find that role?
It actually found me.
Oh, there you go.
Because I didn't know it was a job that existed.
Right, and I feel like most people won't, and that's what's important here.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a job that existed. Obviously, going back into the iHeart, Allison, that's what she did. And so through that, I was like, oh man, I interned in radio. So my background story kind of led to that. And so when I applied to an internship at Atlantic Records, they was just like, yo, your resume kind of speaks promotion. Would you be open to it? And I just wanted the opportunity to be at the label. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so through doing that, it's just kind of something that, through the skill sets that I developed over time, being able to talk to people, being able to communicate very well, being able to persuade people, being able to think creatively, being able to be open and flexible and everything. All the skill sets that I learned throughout my internships, throughout school, it kind of, I think, prepared me to work in this line of work. Even I worked at a call center when I was in LA, and I would do that, and that's a lot of what I do now. It's a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
A lot of talking to people, talking to new people that I probably never talked to before, and being able to have that conversation. So when I call, they pick up my call, and we have a great rapport to do business and set up things for artists.
Yeah. So with that like day-to-day aspect of what you're doing, what is your approach to building relationships and communication? It's something that you're, actively always doing. What is your approach?
I always like to offer something before I ask for something.
Okay.
And it's not even just like I'm offering something for you to do something for me. I'm just more so offering something of like, for example, like I might ask a person, I might talk like, hey, we have this event that's coming up in a couple months. Let me know if you'd be interested in attending, right? Or something like that. Or like, hey, it's this show or concert. Weekend is going on tour next month. If you're in town, let me know, and I would like to take you out to lunch, and maybe we can go to the show. So I always like to offer something, because I feel like I'm going to ask for something eventually.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I want to be able to help you first.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I always end every conversation when I talk to people, let me know if you need anything from me. That's how every conversation ends, with that statement. Let me know if you need anything from me. Right. Hopefully they say no. But in the event,
they're like, actually.
But people appreciate that. I think people appreciate that. It's like you're not just asking for them to do something or asking for something all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, I want to be an asset to you and your endeavors as well. So when I'm talking to radio programmers, I'm talking to DJs, I'm talking to people who host events, I'm always wanting to add value to what you have going on, because it also adds value to what I have going on. So I always like to lead with me offering something of some service to you and what you have, and returns that hopefully one day you would like to return a favor for me.
Right, and I feel like that builds really strong reciprocal relationships, and then relationships you can keep building on. It's not a one and done. Like it's valuable for sure. So being in the music industry, I'm sure like you deal with the fast paced and the changes and things are just constantly moving. How do you navigate all of that? Whether it's like, a new show is about to start, or a campaign, or just what is the approach to, I'm like speaking towards students who want to enter this industry, navigating that like fast paced aspect.
You just have to be flexible. When I was starting off, we used to have a saying like, my boss used to have this saying like, it's not a dress rehearsal. And I never knew what he meant, but he always says it's not a dress rehearsal, right? Basically, the way I used to take that statement was, listen, it's not practice. Like we all are figuring out as we go, being like water, being able to be flexible, moving things on a dime, understanding that things change all the time. So not, keeping a level head. Like I always try not to get too high and not to get too low. That's like, even when I do something great, I don't like over celebrate it. Right. Even when I do something wrong, I don't, basically be depressed over it.
Right. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. And I try to stay level headed throughout. Yeah. But I think in this type of environment, in this industry, just being level headed is the greatest thing that you can be.
Okay.
Right. Now allowing things to get you emotionally charged. And just know that it all works out, But yeah, just being flexible with everything. I think
Is
works
collaboration a big part as well?
It's a huge part.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a huge part. It's a lot of everything we do is part of a collaboration.
Yeah.
And a lot of our jobs now are putting together the pieces, right?
Yeah.
It's like even like right now, like I'm on an email thread about an artist that I have coming into LA on Wednesday, but I found out last night. So like it has to kind of be done today,
yeah,
right? And then because you don't want to come into Monday and having to, so now, but because of the relationships that I've had, I'm like, yo, as soon as I found out, I always get the ball in motion, right? I was like, okay, cool. So I found out, I reached out to a few people that I needed to do some things with, and now I'm kind of juggling all of that as it comes together, right? And so basically putting those pieces together, scheduling things, working it out, and so it's been very, very flexible. Just being able to kind of handle that part of it. But collaboration, I always say this is a team sport.
Yeah.
From every part of the label, from marketing department, the commerce department, the A&R department, it's all like a relay race.
Yeah.
And we all are trying to do our part in order to successfully deliver for the artists that we work with.
Yeah, and I've loved hearing how you've talked about both like opportunities you sought out, but also, eventually opportunities that found you. So with our students who may be trying to find that first internship, where should they look? If it's in music, if it's in, entertainment, like should they be on LinkedIn? Should they be calling and emailing? How should they be reaching?
There's various different ways. There's a website called Entertainment Careers. I think it's entertainmentcareers.net.
Okay.
That's a great database for a lot of internship opportunities. And this is one thing I always tell students or young people who just have aspirations to work in the music industry. Obviously, your first mind is to want to work at a major company, whether that's Universal, Live Nation, whatever, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, whatever case. That's your first mind. And it's cool. You should obviously shoot your shot and apply for those opportunities.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that worked out for me and for people that I know is they built a bunch of smaller opportunities up. And so for them, like it was like having that resume and experience and that skill set. So a lot of companies, if you wanted to work in publicity, right, there's a lot of small agencies that would love to have interns, right? Like even me doing radio, like it was a small radio station, right? And they didn't have a lot of interns, and I just like, yo, let me just shoot my shot. And then obviously doing that got me Die Hard Media internship, which later paid off for Atlantic, and so on and so forth. But I always say, just start small. Don't always just shoot for the big companies. There's so many companies that's out, especially living in Los Angeles, right? So there's so many small record labels that would love internships, so many small agencies or small like companies that would love to have the free labor, right? So definitely try to aim for those because it's probably easier.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about it is like, you don't know who they might know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's like the greatest thing. Like you never know. You might work for this small agency at a small company and they know someone at the Universal or at Sony or at Warner. So I always say start small.
Right. And it always will get the ball rolling and you're getting experience no matter what.
Yes.
And I feel like experience can come in so many forms. I want to talk about like you worked in the mailroom at the Recording Academy.
I did.
Like you can get experience from any opportunity. Did you want to speak about like kind of how that experience was for you?
Yeah. When I worked in the mailroom, I always say the mailroom was probably the most humbling, but I did learn a lot. Because it was my first job, like my first paid job in the music industry. But the thing about the mailroom that I learned a lot was being able to navigate different personalities in the building, because, when I would come in and deliver mail, every day I would have to sort through everyone's mail and I would have to go through all the floors, and I obviously have to remember where everyone sat at.
Yeah.
And I will always come and speak to a person. Right. And I would, say what's up to them, depending on their personality. Some people want to have a long conversation. Some people didn't want to talk to me at all. Hey, hope you have a good day. Take care and keep it pushing. But through that, it made me become more personable. I was already personable, but it just made me become more personable.
Right.
Right. Because like I said, delivering mail to people. And that's actually how that was one major part of how I got my job at Def Jam. Because one of the people that I was delivering mail to was having a conversation. And he told me about the opportunity at Def Jam, and he put a word in for me. So that's how that connection kind of came. So let's say it all lines up in a sense, but that's kind of like what I always look back on is like the mailroom made me become very more personable, maybe more organized as well too. So those are some like the greatest things I learned while working in the mailroom.
Yeah, I think it's important. I wanted to talk about it because I feel like you can get experience anywhere. And like my own dad, he was doing the mailroom at the Walt Disney Animation Studios in Burbank. Yeah. And it's like, you talk to people, you shake hands, like you still can make something out of it.